it leads me into the economy conversation because the two statistics side by side, and I mentioned this earlier, I like to go to the websites that give you the full picture, a more full picture. The one picture that if you read the headline, oh, that's great news, CPI, and it is great news. The Consumer Price Index tumbles to a 2-year low. Great news. The other side of this that other websites might highlight is that inflation is outpacing wages again last month, 26 months in a row. That inflation is outpacing wage increases. So every month you're falling further and further behind, even though that is slowing. That is a much better picture of the mixed bag that is out there, because that, A, is how we should be looking at the world, not just through the rose-colored glasses when we want to, or everything is negative based on where you are politically. I've been very clear about this. The President of the United States and I do not agree on things. I don't think he's a good president. I didn't vote for him the first time, and I'm not voting for him again. And so that's not going to change. But I don't want to see him fail because that means America fails. So if we are able to avert this deep recession, I think that's great for America. If we're saving small businesses, if people are not leaving their homes because they can't afford them, I think that's great for America. So I'm not hoping for failure. But I'm going to acknowledge it's great news that the Consumer Price Index is where it is now. It's still much higher than the president and the administration and Americans want, but it's better than it was a year ago. Year over year, we're in a much better place. And so this, for me, is the issue, is looking at a well-rounded picture of where we are, because the Fed is going to do that. People, if you look just at the Consumer Price Index and that it's at a 1-year low or a 2-year low, and better than it's been year over year, are they going to pause an interest rate hike to see what happens in June? When the data comes out at the end of this month. Well, if you're looking at just one thing, maybe that seems like a no-brainer. But when you also see that in the month of May, inflation outpaced wages, we still don't have the cost of things slowing down enough. So they might still. It's just a better look at where we are. We talked about housing earlier, and I've been talking about this idea, and we all, based on your political leanings, we have different ideas. I think that Arizona is an entrepreneurial place. We have a lot of wealthy people. We have a lot of wealthy people that like to make investments and watch. It's about building things. Once you achieve something, I don't care what field you're in. Let's use. I'm going to guess here, but I'm going to talk about someone's career. You look at a Larry Fitzgerald and the career Larry Fitzgerald had in the NFL. Building your career and building your reputation is what you do at the beginning of your career. And then you're in the prime of your career, and as you start to look at what's happening and that you know that someday you're closer to the end than you are at the beginning, you start looking at legacy, and you start being the mentor to the younger players and leaving things behind like, mentoring younger players and the legacy you leave with what you do in the community. And I would say for people in all places of business, it's the same way. If you're someone that has achieved wealth, once you become wealthy, your investments change sometimes where you are also looking to have a legacy. You are investing in things with younger entrepreneurs and advising them. You want to build a community and make it a better place. You're not giving money away, which a lot of it you do, but with your investments, you want there to be impact. Shaquille O'Neal is one of the best examples of this. If you follow him, I think Shaq is an amazing person and someone I'd love to meet, because Shaq says he doesn't invest in anything anymore unless it changes people's lives. He has made the smart investments to become a very wealthy person, and now he can make investments for the sake of impact. So do you go to somebody like a Shaquille O'Neal, who, I don't know if he has a place in the Valley anymore, but has lived here, and you say to someone like that with investors where they have money that, we are going to incentivize affordable housing, where we are going to say if you are building, homes, whether they're, individual homes or multifamily dwellings, let's say apartments, you are going to build them, not scrimping on quality of construction, but you're not going to put in the high-end appliances and marble countertops and things of that nature, but you are going to give good affordable housing. And when you meet the parameters of rent and how much your rent can go up, let's say based on the median income, how much rent can go up over a 5 or a 10-year period. And then there's a sunset in all of this in which you give people a chance at affordable housing. And then these investors are investing money knowing that families are getting affordable housing. You're still going to make money on your investment, and you're incentivized with possible tax breaks or otherwise from the government for a short time. And the other side of this, the other half of this equation, is expediting the permitting process so that we can get projects done and actually started and completed sooner. Those two things would go a long way because the American entrepreneur has always been the solution to the problems and not the government. I mean, let's be honest. Private industry is better at fixing things than the government is. That's not a knock against the government. But an entrepreneur and an investor, we have got some great investors here in Arizona, some great construction finance companies and land developers that can look at a situation and look at a part of town and say, this would be perfect here. We can do this right here. We can get people to invest and buy into our idea. We can build this so that someone that says, now I've got $1 million to invest in this, and in 20 years I'm going to be able to take out that investment and retire, that would be a big thing for someone to do, and someone that is on a lower scale. But it would also help the community by building affordable housing. I don't see a downside to that, but they're not going to invest in those projects. If you say to somebody, you're not going to see any return on your investment for 5 years. By the time we get zoning and by the time we get approvals and permits and by the time we put a shovel in the ground, we are going to spend millions of dollars on engineers and architects and courts and everything else. And then by putting a shovel in the ground and finally getting it built, no one's going to see a return on investment for years and years. People shy away from those kind of investments. If you can find a way to fast track it, people will invest in it. If you can find a way to incentivize that investment, more people will get on board. Because I will tell you, as KTAR News does more and more on this coverage of homelessness, what I'm learning from people is everybody's concerned about it because everybody's been touched by it. And everybody wants to see solutions to affordable housing. It's why we are the number 4 in the country. This region is 4th in the country in inflation, largely because of the cost of housing. So we're all could be invested in this. And I wonder if people will like it. I wonder if they will like that idea.